Apparently, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, has advised a Florida man to steal a truck to save the world. Now, at least that is what the excuse was when a 29-year-old man by the name of Corey Johnson was caught with a stolen F-150 by the authorities. They arrested him shortly after that. But it was also the fact that he was on his way to a very specific place in Florida. Corey Johnson, 29. I just want you to remember that he's 29 years old because we're gonna show you his mugshot and then it'll explain a lot about this story. Corey Johnson, 29, was arrested Friday at Patrick Space Force Base in Florida by local deputies after he attempted to get on base, according to an arrest citation. Johnson allegedly took control of a Ford F-150 several days prior to arriving at Patrick Space Force Base, and he didn't know who the owner was, according to local authorities. So here is the 29-year-old that we're talking about, his mugshot. I just don't think he looks 29 at all, and he might, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure, might be under the influence of something, because he also said, he stated that the president of the United States told him in his head he needed to take the vehicle. So he might be undergoing some psychosis here. Johnson explained that the president in his head needed him to drive to Patrick Air Force Base to warn the Guardians. He was told by the president he needed to tell the government there were US aliens fighting with Chinese dragons. He was ultimately charged with grand theft of a motor vehicle because he did in fact steal an F-150, and that's illegal, in Florida and other places in this country. Sadly, Johnson never made it to the base, so the Space Force never got Johnson's urgent warning, and I don't know, we're in a lot of trouble.
I know you're being tough on the guy, but I mean, you don't want to go to the base with your own truck because they're going to impound it. So you grab somebody else's truck, and you're on this is a mission to save the universe. You got to get to the Space Force headquarters to relate this important work. Somebody's got to tell the people in charge about the aliens and the Chinese dragons. Or I'm quite sympathetic to the guy.
Okay. I mean, he's got the good intentions. That matters, right, Ray?
Thank you. That's my point.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I'll just say any excuse to use that alien B-roll. Just any story where we could throw that in.
I'm not surprised that the story made it in the rundown because that's probably the #1 reason why it did.
It is the best B-roll. But this guy's clearly, suffering from something, whether it be some sort of mental illness or drug addiction. I'll try not to be too hard on him. The funniest part of the story is that the Space Force is real. I read that and I was like, I forgot about that. This is not just a joke. That I thought this is like a long-running gag from the Trump administration. Like, there's basis.
That's
so
how hard it is to unwind policy once it's started. It's still in place.
And one final thing I'll say, we have a poll on this and we want to know what you guys think. It's very important. Who do you think would win the war between US aliens and Chinese dragons? So here it is, tyt.com/polls, tyt.com/polls to participate in this. Look, I mentioned his likely situation of drug addiction or mental illness because this is something that's very prevalent in the country. And when people don't get the treatment that they need, it usually manifests in things like, causing some harm. I mean, stealing someone's truck, and I don't know what he was ultimately gonna do. I'm glad he was stopped before he did whatever it was. And we need to deal with this issue. It's a huge problem throughout the country. It's everywhere. And I feel like when it comes to elections, when it comes to campaigns, politicians, especially those in the Democratic Party, they purport to care so much about mental health. But when push comes to shove, they don't actually do anything about it. And I don't want them to toss the book at him and throw him in prison. I want him to get help. He needs help. It's very clear, right? The fact that he has these crazy ideas in his head. Some people get tortured by that kind of stuff, and I feel terrible for him.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.